Council scrutinized the federal government's failure to establish essential structures to address the widespread suffering in our nation. Furthermore, it is considered that the government's deliberate neglect and disregard for engaging the national stakeholders through the channel of social dialogue, a commitment it had solemnly declared during the President's inaugural speech on May 29, 2023. Consequently, NEC in session resolved as follows: to embark on a total and indefinite shutdown of the nation within 14 working days or 21 days from today until steps are taken by the government to address the excruciating mass suffering and the impoverishment being experienced around the country. To commence a 2-day nationwide warning strike on Tuesday and Wednesday, 5th and 6th of September 2023, to demonstrate our readiness for the indefinite strike later in the month, and to also demand that the state vacates the illegally occupied national headquarters of the National Union of Road Transport Workers.
It has become pertinent to appeal to the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, to suspend its intended 2 days warning strike, as such action would be detrimental to the gains already been recorded on our course to securing a greater future for Nigerian workers and citizens at large. Furthermore, I would request that the comrade leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress give this government some time to settle and address the issues on the ground holistically. It should be realized that the cabinet of this administration was only recently sworn in by Mr. President, and all cabinet members have hit the ground running. Therefore, the issues raised by the leadership of the NLC are some issues that I and the Honorable Minister of State for Labor and Employment are being briefed upon. On the issue of subsidy removal, palliative measures are already being handled and implemented, beginning with the state and the local governments. The issue of the review of minimum wage, which was promised by the President, will also receive attention so as to ensure that the Nigerian worker is not adversely affected by the challenges of the moment. Earlier, Mr. President had directed the purchase of CNG-powered buses and implementation of the policy for the conversion of petrol cars to gas as a way of reducing the cost of energy for transportation. In the course of the coming weeks, additional measures will be announced, having consulted with the leadership of the organized labor and key stakeholders.
All right, welcome back. Yes, indeed, that and many other issues that are going on today and some that will happen tomorrow are some of the matters that we will discuss this morning with our panel of analysts here today. We've got Dr. Adegboyega Bamishile, who is a global diplomat, UN Eminent Peace Ambassador, a member of the All Progressives Congress and Deputy Chief of Staff to DG of the defunct Tinubu Shetima Campaign Council. We also have Alaba Yusuf, who is the head public relations and member at Atiku Okawa presidential campaign. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Well, quite a lot. Yeah, a lot making the rounds today, and then there's a big one tomorrow. But today, Labour is embarking on this, what they say is a 2-week warning strike. And the narratives today, 2 days. Did I say 2 weeks?
You say 2 weeks.
Oh, sorry, 2 days strike. And your party, they're not happy with the activities and the policies that government has put in place, and they think, look, this is the best way to send the message. So, from your perspective, you think that, look, what now, Labour, the patience has run out, and at the moment, this is where we find ourselves. Is your party handling this right?
Well, thanks very much. Morning, Nigerians. Well, the issues that have been raised at a time when the cabinet was about to be formed. Now, the cabinet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a week plus old, and they're currently receiving briefings from their respective departments and agencies. So, one can expect that, we should allow for time and allow for dialogue. I think it's a time for dialogue. I think it's too early, in the administration for communications to break down. And there are procedures to this thing. We saw the Honorable Minister yesterday when he alluded that a lot of the information he has gotten, he got from the social media like most Nigerians. Till date, the NLC has not even formally, submitted their complaints to him. But, the central theme of his discussions with the press and with the TUC who was present yesterday was, allow us some time, please. Let's look at, the areas and the points that have been raised. And, we'll start working on it. So the TUC who was present said, okay, we hear you. We hear, what you allude to be the challenges of the federal government. And we're willing to allow 2 weeks, to go through these things again with the new administration.
Well, Mr. Yusuf, part of what Labour is going to strike for is part of what your principal said he was also going to do, removal of the fuel subsidy. So one wonders, what's your impression about all of this? Because who knows, if your principal had won, he might have been facing the similar narrative.
Good morning, Nigerians, once again, and thank you, Chamberlain. My principal, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, will have done things in a different manner. He's been in government. He was the head of the economy, was former vice president, so he knew what to do, and he still knows what to do. Essentially, the government has always enjoyed favor from Labour. Oh, the executive has always taken advantage. Despite the extant law of separation of powers, the executive in Nigeria has always seen itself as superior to both the legislature and the executive. This is an APC government. The previous government is APC. So, where is the difference? So the problems are already there. Integrity, credibility, plausibility, believability. These are things that people attend to when it comes to negotiation. Reputation matters. The last administration, which was an APC government, treated Labour like rag. So they cannot believe them. To the extent that the ordinary Nigerian does not even believe Labour. They feel that Labour they will be settled. Now, what do you call it? The chicken has come home to roost. But because, excuse me, let me land on this. Now, the removal of the subsidy was done without any whatever. And please, let us not pity Mr. President. Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
He said no.
He said he asked for the job. It has been his life ambition to become president. So, why are you begging for time for? They say they hit the ground running. I've not seen anyone. But on the road, I don't see vehicles on the road anymore.
The earlier point you made about government treating Labour like rags, but I thought it's in the same country where ASU, when they embarked on strike, students, it was equally a bitter pill, like several of the strikes, and that was during your party, when your party was in power at the time as well. It wasn't any different. So governments, all political parties, PDP, APC, whichever, they seem to have the same template in terms of how to treat Labour. So you make it sound as though your party treated Labour better than now.
You see, leadership counts a lot. And it boils down to the individual. J.F. Kennedy once said, that do not fear to negotiate and do not negotiate out of fear. There are those who feel that once you become president, you are the Lord. We've seen EPROs as civilian presidents in this country. I won't mention names. You know them better. Atiku is not in that class. It's not in that league.
Sorry, when you say you know them better...
You know them. So we are media people. We know them.
Okay, you know them.
We know them. We all know them. Well, like emperors.
Let me come back to you, Dr. Bamishile. You said something earlier about time needed. I mean, from what Mr. Alaba has said, there is no time. And I think one of the things that your party promised, that you will hit the ground running. You said the cabinet is still being briefed. These are things that have been going on. Your party was in power, and now your party is continuing. These are issues that have been. So how much time does one need to be briefed about something that has been happening? Are there no low-hanging fruits that could have been plucked just to keep the momentum while conversations are going on?
Okay, it's an interesting time to be a Nigerian, and I have to say I empathize with Nigerians. We need to take these matters more seriously than we are taking it. There are procedures. I'm a process man, You can't have resumed office in a week and say that, you want to start deploying resources. Otherwise, you would stand the chance of deploying resources wrongly. You need to take briefings. You need to understand the problems, within the ministry that you have been sent to. Now, Nigerians can attest to the fact that the president's directive to send rice and grains to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal, they've started receiving throughout local governments. Nigerians can attest to the fact that based on the NEC directive under the leadership of President Kashim, Vice President Kashim, they've sent out 5 billion, to further, reduce the pangs of this, subsidy removal. 2 billion has been, so it's processes, so we've had bosses, hang on a second.
No, if I
we've had bosses.
Just so that I add to the processes. I mean, considering the fact also that the current Minister of Labour was a governor of the state, so he had to deal with labour issues.
Absolutely,
it's this same labour that is here. Okay, now you say maybe it's an expanded labour, but it's the same labour.
So what do you do, for example, when labour has been invited to the table to have dialogue with this same minister who has been with them for a while, but they refuse to come? Instead, they prefer to go on that 2-day warning strike, which is okay. You've sounded your note of warning. The government has heard you. They've invited you to say, let's talk about these things. Let's look at the areas that you have where your complaints, lie, and let's see what we can do for intervention, to resolve these problems quicker. But would you, rather come to the table or go for this strike? TUC did well by coming and saying, okay, these are our problems. They talked about, state workers are already receiving, that minimum wage increase. Federal government should follow suit. They talked about taxation. They talked about the 5 billion, 2 billion of which had already started being, rolled out in palliatives. The minister said, well, I hear you, but would you allow us some time to go through these things so that we can start, the process of attending to them? And they said yes and went back. So I would have loved to see a situation where Labour was at the table also yesterday, rather than embarking on the strike.
Mr. Yusuf, while Dr. Bamishile is looking at processes, your party has been in this space, and I'm sure you'll be priding yourself that you've handled it better, but some will say the circumstances are different. Situation on ground is different. But you said your principal would have handled things differently, and you said that the executive has always taken advantage of the people. Okay. Did your party not take advantage of the people? That's what you're implying also, that your party took advantage of the people.
Well, what I'm trying to say here is that we should understand that if way forward for the country, as of today, the election that brought this president to power was not clean. People will have a bit of sympathy. There was anger Now hunger has been added to it. People are waiting earnestly for tomorrow, for the judgment tomorrow. Now, go to the road, check. Under Jonathan, a bag of rice was 7,500. Today, a bag of rice is about 50
What
something.
do people expect tomorrow? What are they waiting for exactly?
Nigerians?
Yeah.
Eyes on the judiciary. Eyes on the judiciary. You understand me? No,
Yeah.
you see, that's the last hope of the ordinary man. People are not satisfied that you could just talk about glitch, talk about grab power and run away with it. And it now happened in practice. You understand me? So an illusion has now become, a dream has become a reality. So all this, in public relations terms, you know, there are three things in negotiation, in crisis management. Consultation, labor has done that. Conciliation, they did that. Now this confrontation, the 3C. It is now down to government to change hostility to friendliness, which they are not doing. Adversity to prosperity, they are not doing that.
So wait,
and apathy to sympathy.
So when you say people are waiting for tomorrow,
yeah.
Labour, which by the way we reached out to, but they couldn't make the program, they are also waiting. PDP also waiting. So what's going to happen?
The entire country is waiting because the image of our nation.
Yeah, but Labour wants it to swing their way. PDP wants it to swing their way.
No, you're talking about Labour Party. There's a difference between Labour Party
no.
and...
I'm talking about what you said, people are waiting for tomorrow.
Yes. I said, Nigerians, there are some Nigerians who are not partisan, who are ordinary voters, who wanted their vote to count, or to have counted.
All right, Dr. Bamshele, is your party jittery about tomorrow?
Not at all. I mean, I think we have to allow the court of jurisprudence to, you know, rule on this matter. They have the petitions before them. So let's wait. I like how, you know, the registrar of the appellate court, Umar Bangari, has said, you know, this court proceedings will be televised for Nigerians to see. And I think by global standards, that's what we expect. And that's what Nigerians expect.
You're not bothered.
So, I mean, why should we be bothered? We have, like you have highlighted.
You can win.
You have, like you have highlighted.
You know how it's going to go already tomorrow.
I mean, why would I say that? I don't want to be held in contempt of any court.
No, you will
but
not.
what I'm saying is, you know, we have issues that are, you know, bordering on the welfare of Nigerians. And there's high expectations. Nigerians gave us their confidence and trust for a reason, because they know that we can do this thing. You know, we've inherited so many problems. There's dips in productivity, you know, where there's high unemployment rates, you know. There's issues around, you know, working in line with the conventions and recommendations of the International Labour Organization. All this can only be achieved in an atmosphere of industrial peace. You know, so I really want to urge the Labour.
You know, I was going to go, before you get into, take us back to Labour now. We've moved away from Labour and we moved on
work.
to
It's time to work
expectations
and to dialogue.
of Nigerians.
Yeah.
Because I do know that the tribunal, when they started, said they'll be working based on evidence, no technicalities, whatever. Now, from your perspectives, the two of you, would you say that your parties have put out enough evidence for the tribunals to give a judgment that will favor you? You can start.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, whatever is in court, you don't need to touch that.
No, we're not.
Well, I will talk about court of honor. That's what you call court of honor. And the court of honor is where people speak the truth. Nobody is getting punished for that, but your conscience determines what happens to you. Pick a man like Atiku and trace him. He's traceable. He has checkered history. In public service, in private service, in government. While he was former vice president, Nigeria's debt was cancelled, was negotiated. Things were moving. The likes of the technocrats like...
So he was in charge at the time?
He was the head of the economy. He was the head of the economy. And that's why when he talked about privatization he was talking about is that why should you keep moribund something that is not, you do turnaround maintenance of refineries that are not producing. You keep spending money. Like Obasanjo would say, former president Obasanjo would say, you don't invest in something that fails. But we keep doing that. So, an Atiku is a man who has the experience, the know-how. Our lawyers have done their bit. We live, tomorrow is just 24 hours.
So whichever way the pendulum swings tomorrow, what key factors will your party look out for upon which you can then say, okay, having seen the considerations, the factors and how the judgment was delivered, and then you could say, all right, I think this was fair. What would those factors be?
Tomorrow is not endgame. Let's realize that.
I know.
Yeah, that's the Supreme Court. So
you're looking forward to the Supreme Court.
Either party.
You sound like you're looking forward to the Supreme Court.
I'm just saying to you, either party will see approach the Supreme Court. If the president,
no, I'm not talking about either party now. I'm talking about your party.
I'm just saying to you, if it swings our way, we expect the other party to go to the Supreme Court.
No, I'm asking.
Excuse me.
If the pendulum, whichever way the pendulum swings, what will be the key considerations for you or your party to say, having looked at this, and that, we think it was a fair delivery of judgment? What would those be?
Well, part of it is the personalities involved, qualification of candidates, FCT.
How do you mean personalities involved?
The candidates that contested the election.
We all know them.
Yeah, you know them. You know their history.
So they got to the top. That's part of.
It's part of. Do you know their qualification? You understand me? These are the things. The issue of FCT is there.
We'll come back. For you, what would those be? If whichever way the pendulum swings, what would you see upon which you can say, having looked at these factors, it was a fair delivery?
Well, 3 petitions have been filed before the 5-member panel, and all evidences have been put in. I am counting on, the court, the panel, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal to deliver justice for Nigerians in the interest of our democracy, So, I think the trajectories here are very different, On the one hand, we are in government and we're focusing on, recording developmental strides and, moving the discourse forward from, developing to developed nation. And it's okay to see the opposition in court and agitating and that. It's all right. I think tomorrow the long-awaited bride would be brought home. And Nigerians are optimistic.
Okay. We'll talk more on some of these matters when we return in just a moment. So stay on with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. Well, let me come back to you, Mr. Alaba Yusuf. There is hardly any election held in Nigeria that has not been contested. Particularly in this republic, there is none, if memory serves me right, that has not been contested. However, what is unique about this year's election is that it is the first time we are having 3 leading candidates the way we did. And a good number of people will say it's the most keenly contested election so far. Now, there are those who are saying, whoever would lead should have been able to get more than 50% of total votes, but a host of other issues, have arisen in that. And I know that a number of things have been said along those lines. However, in the name of strengthening our democracy and in the name of instilling trust in the process for many Nigerians, so far for you, I'm speaking more as a Nigerian than a politician, what are the key takeaways that you would say Nigerians should, for now, before the election, be looking out
be looking to as lessons we have learned in this process so far?
Thank you very much. Now I'll be speaking as a public relations person, creating understanding for mutual benefits and national development. Let's put an analogy of marriage, a relationship between husband and wife. Let's say a man is dating two ladies. Two of them were supposed to be, suitors, And while they were doing that, they said one of the ladies should stay with the man for 3 months or 100 days. And while the community will decide who will become the husband, become the wife. In between, the woman gets pregnant. So who becomes wife? That is one takeaway from this. The government, there should be judgment, there should be decision in election before the inauguration of any government, like it was done in Kenya. That's one takeaway. Secondly, if INEC is to be, the I in INEC should be written in capital letters, independent. Independence should be in terms of finance, should be separated from government. And the government should not be the one, the president should not be the one appointing chairman of INEC. Therefore, because when an umpire becomes biased, then the game is over. The election was, everybody had interest in this election. Why? Because the election was conducted based on hunger and anger. People, there was don't forget October 20, the NSAS protest. Don't forget the ASU strike. So many things have gone wrong. The Nigerian National Bureau of Statistics has given unemployment at very alarming rate. There's hyper inflation, or there was hyper inflation and more now before the election. So people went to vote. There was belief in digital, tech, talking about beavers, the IREV, and the rest of it. All of a sudden, at the grand finale, they said the IREV could not work, or there was a glitch. Up to today, nobody has given any reason or told the country what went wrong. Who does that? So, the takeaway for Nigeria is that if the judiciary does not handle this properly, in the perception of the public, people may not go out to vote. There will be apathy. People are disillusioned. There's frustration all over the place. People go to school, no employment. Those that are employed, their take-home cannot take them home anymore. So, it is difficult to govern people that are not happy. I remember one governor of Imo State, Rocha Sokorocha, that created Minister of Happiness. If you are not happy, you just not happy, and you won't be productive.
Okay.
Today, can anybody blame any worker for not coming to work? No.
All right. Well, Mr. Yusuf, that's a fair point to make. But let me ask Mr. Dr. Bamishile, there's a host of Nigerians who believe that this election carries a lot of weight for the largest segment of Nigeria's population, which are young people. And depending on what side of the divide you find yourself, opinions are as divided. Be it in the north and in the south and in the east and in the west. There are those who would reference the 2019 elections, how it was difficult for young people at that time who are at the forefront to take a major decision of coming together. And then now, this election, it would seem like there was a huge rallying point in different parts of the country for one, leaning or the other. And the pronouncement of the court tomorrow is going to say one thing or the other, and expectations are pitch fever high. For you, what are the lessons for young people so far? The elections, the judgment of the court has not been read. We're looking forward to it. But for now, for you, what are the elections? What are the lessons for young people so far in this process?
Sorry, I lost you a bit there. What are the lessons for young people?
Yeah. Yes, that's it. In this process, what are the lessons so far for young people?
So as against the 2019 election, where we had about 35% voter turnout, I think this 2023 election, we had about 25%, you know, a little under 25 million out of 87 million PVCs that were, you know, collected. So there was low voter turnout. The lessons are for young people to participate more, better in politics than just, you know, stand on the sidelines. And I can tell you that young people already have seen these in play, that, you know, the more they take the back seat on, you know, the discourse, the more decisions are made on their behalf, you know. But I also want to tell you that young people voted en masse for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, ECFR. And, you know, he recorded the highest number of votes in this election. Like you rightly pointed out, the only time that elections have not been contested in Nigeria in the courts is during, I think, 2015, when President Goodluck Jonathan conceded, you know, and, you know, without saying it, he was telling Nigerians that, you know, the party could no longer handle the challenges, and, you know, he was willing to allow someone else to take the reins. A lot of the problems that we are talking about here, you know, emanated from, you know, the other party. And, you know, I don't like anyone to sit down and say, well, this party has not done this or has not done that. Elections are meant to be contested. You know, if you are able to influence people on your expertise and what you are bringing to the table, they would vote for you. If you don't, then you go to a court like we're already in court, and let's wait for the outcome of what, you know, the decisions that panel will make eventually. So young people should participate better in politics, and this is, it begins at the grassroots. You know, we cannot stay in our concrete jungles and just you know, use our phones and devices to talk about what we believe should be and not. We should go back to our wards, you know, participate from at ward level, at local government level, state level, you know. So the opportunities are always there, you know, for young people, and our party is open to youth participation in any case, you know. So this is my point of view.
And, you know, it's been quite some wait for the ruling of the judiciary. Let me come to you now, Mr. Alaba, Mr. Yusuf. Amid that wait, the judiciary seems to perceive that there's some pressure, you know, from political parties based on their messaging, either from their supporters or from their candidates. Do you feel culpable to some extent, you know, that the messaging from your candidate or even the candidate of other political parties has been putting some form of pressure on the judiciary, such that it's feeling, it may even be feeling like, you know, it's some form of subtle blackmail to influence the outcome of its ruling tomorrow?
Thank you very much. The word blackmail I would not like to use, but there's a popular brand of liquor that says shine your eyes. It is important. It's a Nigerian parlance where it's a lingo. We have seen situations in history where you have leaders who call themselves that I am the state, Louis XVI. We have seen people who say, who is presidency? So what we're saying is that we have seen how even the judiciary was treated, members of the judiciary treated, raided, their homes raided and the rest of it. So we're not saying that is happening now, but all we're saying is that in a situation, in a football game, in any sport, the referee must be unbiased. The umpire must be seen as a transparent, credible one that has integrity. We respect the judiciary. We believe in them. They've done well in the past, but in every society, in every organization, there are bad eggs. And when people point, what do you call it, direct attention to the bad eggs, so they should not be, the word blackmail should not come into it, because we know there's corruption all over the world. People still question former American President Trump over the issue of January 6th, the invasion of the Capitol. So what we're saying here is that we should allow the judiciary to be independent, not when their resources come from the presidency, when the allowances and everything comes, the appointment and everything comes from presidency. And they say, he that plays the piper dictates the tune. Nigerians are not happy that a glitch took away their votes. And nobody is explaining. That's where the problem lies. So now we're talking about the young people. Young people, the netizens, the internet natives, they believe, they do Big Brother, they do others, they vote online. They transfer money online. People believe in it. But why is it that we cannot vote online? Or at least let our result be transferred or transmitted online?
But Mr. Yusuf,
we're talking about glitch.
Those calls...
So the judiciary we're talking about, nobody is blackmailing the judiciary.
But Mr. Yusuf, those calls...
Nobody... See, it's an excuse that some people are using because emotion not part of this.
But Mr. Yusuf...
People should not sensationalize...
Mr. Yusuf, pardon me, if I may come in there. If I may come in there, those calls for independence of the judiciary, for the unbiased dispensation of their work of the judiciary, can be made without the filtering of those issues online, on social media, and on the front pages of newspapers. There are reports of accusations of made against some judges of working for a particular candidate. There are reports, for instance, your candidate put up a post filtering some of those issues that are before the courts. Don't you think that that is subtle blackmail of the judiciary, and by extension, the judiciary feels right to be pressured in doing its work?
My sister, the word blackmail is a colonial term. I don't like it when people use it. I live in England for 32 years. So why blackmail? Why not whitemail? So the issue is this. My principal, my boss, would never be the one to talk about blackmail. He is a defender of democracy. He's liberal-minded. He has been to court several times. And because of him, that's why president cannot sack their deputy, their vice. And governors cannot sack their deputy. Let us believe in the courts. Let us work towards justice, fair play. A situation where you say grab power and run away with it, and now a glitch took away people's vote, and you say people should not talk. It doesn't make sense. That's the truth of it. So we are just saying, because we see situations where technicalities of the law have been used to take away people treat the symptoms and leave the actual sickness. You know, we should not leave leprosy to treat other skin disease. So essentially, this issue is that tomorrow is tomorrow, but we know everything will not end tomorrow. Whichever way the pendulum swings, the Supreme Court is the final arbiter. You know, after that, well, is the Almighty.
Well, Mr. Bamishile,
the fact remains that the country should move forward by not allowing the legislature now to do a job that election petition should be handled and resolved before inauguration. Because if you allow one of the two ladies contesting for a man to stay with the man, and the man impregnates the lady, who is now the wife? They will not tell you biologically they have a child now. You that you don't have a child, you can just walk away. Sorry, we'll settle you. It shouldn't be like that. Elections have been determined against government. President. It happened in Kenya. It happened in Malawi. So heaven will not fall if this happens here. The young people are expectant. Because if they went, you said they went violent way. They said nobody was killed at Essas. What do we see? A lot of people being buried, unknown. Are we back to unknown soldiers, unknown corpses? No, it shouldn't be like that. Second, now they went to vote, and they voted, hoping that IREF. Where I voted, another party won. The bulk of the people that voted, they were young people. But now you said, like my brother here said, he said the Nigerian youth voted en masse. I don't believe in that. It may not be the truth. But essentially, we should, anything goes into to the social media. And social media is not, orthodox media. So whoever can sit in the comfort of his house to write something on behalf of anybody, you never hear my boss or the PDP or itself to go out to say, this is what. There's no blackmail. Nobody's blackmailing anyone. Well, I imagine
that Mr. Bamishile will have one or two things to say about, some of the points that you have put forward, particularly your argument, about Nigerians being denied their vote, based on a glitch, according to the explanation provided by the electoral umpire. And in addition to that, perhaps you'd also like to, comment on that call for reforms to the electoral process. What are the things that you think should be, put in place such that going forward there would be no technical glitches, they would have a seamless electoral process, particularly with the staggered elections in view? Mr. Bamishile, that's for you.
So thanks very much. This government is a listening government. These are points that have been taking on advisement even before mentioned here this morning. So, you can expect the best outcomes from a lot of the deliberations that are currently ongoing. And like I said, I don't believe in everything that I read on social media because it doesn't determine much. But consensus and empathy towards a particular cause. But there are formal avenues to seek redress, and currently the PEPC is the body that is looking at the outcome of the February 25th presidential election, and we should allow them to do that. I, for one, I have confidence in the Court of Justice as the last resort for the average citizen of Nigeria. And like he said, from the appellate court to the Supreme Court, once we get that ruling, I think everybody can rest,
While that
outside
process
of
is
that,
going on,
I would not like to encourage these allegations, blackmail or whitemail.
Well, yeah. While that argument is going on, Dr. Bamishile, my colleagues have taken you up on some, governance-related issues earlier. So let's go back there for a bit. Well, a sizable number of people, including previous emir of Kano and the former CBN governor, saying that there's been a lot of crisis even before this government came into power. But then, as he said, and that we've been reminded by Mr. Yusuf this morning, he has asked not to be pitied, but that it should just, be encouraged or whatever it is to do what needs to be done. You spoke earlier about process. While the PC process is ongoing, governance processes cannot take the back seat. The reality of the pangs that people are feeling are no less significant. So I will stick with you for young people again about governance-related issues. The things that people are going through in the different parts of this country is better imagined, because it's only when you feel it that you actually do know it. You said it, the president, the government is a listening government and all of those things, but then is it a communicating government? Is it a persuading government? That's another thing altogether. A good number of these things happen at the state's level. But then we have the federal government taking the lead in a number of issues. Are you seeing enough understanding or appreciation of the challenges on our hands as a nation among young people, particularly in the states? Or you think more needs to be done to help people understand the realities and the peculiarities of the situation we have on our hands, and consequently that communication needs to be championed more assiduously?
Thanks. I think the natural response to the removal of subsidy was the distribution of palliatives to first and foremost, and more importantly, pushing the effects of this removal. And palliatives is what palliatives does. It just attends to an imminent problem and seeks to address it, offering some level of comfort. However, when I speak of processes, government is now, with the newly formed cabinet, looking at doing the overall housekeeping and, developing policies that will ensure prosperity, creation of jobs, covering the existing skills gap, building a more skill supply infrastructure, ensuring that workers enjoy social justice, rights at their respective workplaces, creating decent, employment opportunities. These are things that, would involve the process of policy formulation, review, and, eventual implementation. So that one would allow for a total overall of the system. However, like I said, palliatives are what palliatives does, and is equally as important. So whilst Nigerians can enjoy in the interim, the results of, this initial 5 billion that has been released to the states. And, I like what's happening. Civil societies have come up and said, we want transparency, we want the disbursement to be open, we want to know who's getting what and how they're getting it. Government also is in a handshake with even the private sector to ensure that the distribution is hitch-free.
Are you satisfied with the way it's going so far?
So far, yeah. So far, so good.
Which one? What part exactly?
So when I say government is in a handshake with the private sector, I'm talking about, I have seen, how, there's proper stock accounting for, like I said to you, the president gave directives for rice and grains to be taken to the states. These commodities were transported to respective states on vehicles that were tracked and monitored, and when they got to those states and got, offloaded into warehouses, there was proper stock accounting and management. And
so what about those who have received it? Do you have details? I mean, where can we check to see the list of those who have received it?
Chamberlain, just put a call through to your local government and, talk to your, member house of representatives.
We all can't keep calling the local government.
No, I mean, but these are the channels that, the formal channels for you to get information.
But isn't that a challenge that we face right now? Because if the country cannot say, well, really and truly, we do have a platform, database,
where
a
you
system,
can verify
a first system where we say, okay, well, these people are the ones who received it, and yeah, we can say that that's the case.
Again, so it's processes, you know. So now we're in the distribution and disbursement segment of the initiative. We can expect that once the initiative is done, we can, you know, go to a certain portal of the respective ministry or agency to say, okay, what happened with what?
So that is what we expect.
Places and that, yes, and then we can hold our governors accountable too, because they have been saddled with the responsibility to take care of the welfare of their citizens. The federal government has done, you know, what they can do within the limits of reasonability at the time.
All right, Kunogo, I saw you giggling. You did agree with some things. Well, what don't you agree with this time?
Well, it's sad that we're still operating analog in the days of digital, the age of digital. We're in this country where people took money to the market. That's money. We're in a country where people don't have postal address. Are you going to churches or mosques? Are you going to schools? Who are this money being given to? Or the palliative we're talking about? We've seen people now taking it to go to where they, you know, like you say, plants in the pipeline. In the past, people went to that pipeline to bust it, to check, and that led to bunkering. From there, people have been going to warehouses to take food.
But
so all I'm saying that as at now, 2 billion for a state. The 3 tiers of government, federal, state, and local government.
Okay, just before we go, what can you tell us as to why, when the PDP was in power, why don't we get a social security system? Or at least when everybody can say, yeah, we have this, we can build on this. What was the main challenge?
See, governors. Governor. When Okoje-Iweala, Dr. Ngozi Okoje-Iweala, the DG World Trade Organization, what did she say? Let us have sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah, but that's not social security.
Excuse me. When you have money kept aside that you can use during an emergency, you understand me? The likes of Governor Fayose and the rest of them, no, share this money. Share the money.
That's within the same party.
And most of the governors, they wanted the money.
So your party was divided within.
I'm just saying, it's not about, I'm talking about governors. Whether PDP, whatever party.
But SWF is not social security for, it's not social security for me or him or you or everybody.
Listen to me, but relatively speaking, people would prefer to go back to before 2015. Yes.
What part of that?
Why the bag of rice. Excuse
why would people want to go
excuse me. First and foremost, you don't preach sanity to a man that is hungry.
The question of social security.
I know. Excuse me, but in England,
so are you avoiding
in England, before you have the NHS, right? Before you had it, it took years, because first and foremost, we'll not be able to do.
PDP was in government for years.
Excuse me, we'll not be able to do.
Why didn't we get it?
Census. You understand me? So,
okay,
it's not just about PDP or APC. All I'm talking about it's about sanity in the system.
Yeah, but if those parties that were there couldn't provide sanity, why should we go back to them?
How old is our democracy in Nigeria? I'm only asking.
All right. Well,
if in the UK, they are still struggling.
No,
even in America, they still struggling.
I'm asking for a social security system for this country. Why didn't we have it when you...
Before you can have social security, you must be able to have proper election. You must be able to have...
So we didn't have proper elections in all the years of PDP?
Census.
Okay.
Census.
All right, Akeredolu Alaba Yusuf, Head Public Relations and member, Atiku Okowa Presidential Campaign Council at the time, and also Dr. Adegboyega Bamishile is a member of the All Progressives Congress and Deputy Chief of Staff to the DG of the defunct Tinubu Shetima Campaign Council. He's also a global diplomat and UN eminent peace ambassador. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on, and we'll look forward to tomorrow and see how all of that plays out. So as you say,
thank you very much.
Many will be watching to see what happens.
Nigerians are watching. The world is watching.